The Soft Animal of Your Body by CheatsatUNO. Chapter 4. The Mountains and the Rivers. Alright, we're all done here. Small eyes blink open slowly, then widen with a snap. Draco's gaze focuses and narrows in on Harry, whose sleeves are still rolled up past his elbows, exposing toned forearms. Draco almost drowned himself in the sink earlier, not sure how to handle the single-minded attention that Harry was giving him. The bath has refreshed Draco, body and mind, and he turns his newly energized focus on the golden boy, who was more of a bronze boy right now, skin a bit dull and hair more tangled than any post-Quidditch style he'd had the pleasure of seeing. It takes a great effort to wiggle himself free from the warm towel. The thread count is lower than Draco's used to, but it smells faintly of what his animal nose can pick up as Harry's scent, so it's the best towel he'd ever had regardless. But Draco manages. If Draco gets to luxuriate in his expensive soaps, Harry more than deserves the same treatment. Harry has paused at the doorway, looking at Draco curiously as he hops around the slick surface of the counter, trying to avoid falling back into the sink. A corner of his mouth quirks up, different from the barely there smile that Harry had worn during Draco's bath, but no less genuine. Draco likes seeing any version of a smile on the other. "Do you need something?" Harry asks. Draco continues to act like an idiot until the human moves away from the door and back to the sink. Finally, Draco thinks, before nudging his favourite shampoo and conditioner bottles into the soapy water of the sink. He barely avoids the water that splashes over the edge, and Harry groans. He vanishes the water from the sink altogether in an impressive show of wandless and wordless magic, something that never fails to make Draco's stomach clench, ferret or human body notwithstanding. "Did you just want to make a mess after I worked so hard to get you clean?" Desperate measures, then, Draco decides. Draco goes to the edge of the counter and leaps onto Harry's shirt. Harry yelps and his arms flail around as he tries to prevent Draco from falling. Draco, on the other hand, is clinging desperately to the cheap fabric of the other's shirt, resolutely ignoring Harry yelling about sharp claws and being ticklish. It's not hard to scamper up to Harry's shoulder, where the woodsy, sweet scent of him is stronger. From here, it's also easy to start biting and tugging at the knotted curls that Draco has been obsessed with for years. "Ow, ow, ow! Knock it off!" Harry says as his hands attempt to shoo Draco away. But this close, Draco can see how desperately the hair needs a proper wash and tending to. Draco's shampoo isn't exactly meant for curly hair, but it would do wonders for the greasy texture, and his conditioner would help soothe these split ends until the Gryffindor can get them cut. "Are you trying to say something about my hair?" There is a definite pout in Harry's voice, and a quick glance in the mirror shows that to be true. In a rare moment of bravery, Draco stretches his neck and nuzzles his cheek against Harry's to try and smooth the sting that has settled onto his face. The man huffs. "Well, I know I haven't been taking care of it recently. Kind of got used to just using refreshing charms last year. Besides, I've never been able to do much with my hair." Draco doesn't miss the tension that has settled into Harry's shoulders, so he continues his ministrations, expanding to the whole side of Harry's face. His skin is dry, too, but Harry didn't bring any of Draco's moisturizer when he had apparently broken into his and Blaze's bathroom. Harry is silent for a while, just staring at his own reflection, and Draco is terrified that he's ruined this. He's pushed too hard in trying to express his feelings, his concern. Can I use these?" Harry picks up the wet bottles of hair product, but his eyes are locked onto Draco's reflection. Almost regretfully, he pauses his cheek rubbing and returns Harry's stare in the mirror. Draco nods, unsure why Harry is asking a ferret for permission, especially when Harry had already gone and stolen these from Draco's room. But if Harry wants an extra excuse, Draco has always been good at making them. Draco momentarily forgets that he can't actually talk as he jumps into the proper use of the products. He explains that the shampoo should be massaged into the roots and scalp, and that the conditioner should be concentrated around the ends and left to soak for at least 7 minutes before rinsing. Halfway through reminding Harry not to rub his hair with the awfully scratchy towels he owns, Harry gives a full belly laugh and lifts Draco from his shoulder perch. "I can't understand, you know that, right?" Harry is smiling when he plops Draco back onto the still warm towel. He's still smiling when he begins to take his shirt off. Draco stops breathing for a moment, before scrambling to bury between the layers of the towel. Harry laughs, and soon the sound of more fabric hitting the tile is joined by the showerhead bursting to life with a steady spray of water. As much as Draco longs for a peek at the lean lines of Harry's body that those stupid robes insist on hiding, it turns Draco's stomach in a decidedly wrong way when he remembers that Harry thinks that he's a simple animal. Draco refuses to sink to such levels. Yes, he much prefers his life these past few days compared to anything after third year, and yes, he is starting to lean more into the animal instincts that come from being transformed for so long. But his basic human decency to not be some creepy voyeur remains faithfully intact. Harry shoots a cheeky, no peeking, Draco's way. Draco hisses in response, but he doesn't think the sound carries over the sound of the shower. Draco risks a quick glance, and sighs in relief that the shower curtain has been pulled close. Buried under the warmth of the charmed towel, the new addition of steam is starting to remind Draco of one of the Swiss spas he and Pansy had visited with Blaze's mother, courtesy of her beau at the time. The smell of honey and sage mixes in with the air, and Draco realizes that his favorite soap, shaped like a swan, is missing from the countertop. Good, Harry will like that soap. It's relaxing. Lulled by the warm towel, steam, and familiar smells, Draco can't fight the pull of sleep. He only wakes up again when he's being lifted up. The sounds of the shower are gone, and Harry is thankfully dressed in his sleep clothes, cradling Draco's small body close. I can understand why Draco has so many bottles of this kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever had a better shower. My hair has never felt this soft. Harry sighs, rubbing a knuckle under Draco's chin. He opens his eyes, bleary and still half asleep. Lines of tension that Draco has grown used to are now gone. Harry looks much better. His hair is still wet, but the curls are separated nicely, and it doesn't look any danger of frizzling. His skin still looks dull. The man seems to have no skincare routine. Maybe Draco could smuggle some of his moisturizers and toners out of his bathroom and relocate them here. That would be nice. Thank you. The choked-up sound startles Draco into alertness. Harry's eyes are shining with unshed tears, and his hands have developed a slight tremor. Draco, forever useless at the threat of crying, thinks quickly and licks the nearest bit of skin, Harry's wrist. Draco nuzzles into it, ignoring the small intake of breath and focusing on comfort. I think I needed a bit of a spa day too, huh? What do you say we make a thing of this? Harry gives him a watery smile, and Draco chirps in answer. Uh, this is embarrassing. Ron better be in the room. I need him to sneak us some food, because I do not feel like going down for dinner. Straight to bed for us. Luckily, Weasley is in the room, halfway through teasing Harry about taking so long in the bathroom before noticing the air of fragility around the saviour. He quickly agrees to bring back a feast for Harry and his new best friend. Weasley says the latter part with full resentment, but Draco preens and cuddles closer to Harry anyway. The redhead is only gone for a short while. Unfortunately, along with purloined plates of food and dessert, Weasley also returns with news that Granger wants to talk to Harry about their defense homework after they eat. Nestled securely in Harry's arms, they both leave the room, despite Harry's groaning about curling up in bed. The door to Harry's room has barely shut before they almost run headfirst into Blaze, whose face is darkened with what Draco knows is murderous intent. Potter, I need to... Blaze stops, nose wrinkling, and then takes a very obvious sniff. Draco hides himself deeper in Harry's arms. He may look nothing like his human self, but leave it to Blaze to recognize him immediately and ruin this for Draco. Can I help you, Zerbini? Harry takes a step back, clearly confused by the Slytherin sniffing him. Blaze's eyes narrow, but the anger fades slightly. It was you that broke into me and Draco's room, he bites out. Harry sputters, probably trying to say something along the lines of, What? That wasn't me. But Blaze cuts him off. I was going to demand you do something about whoever broke in, since you're famous for the saviour complex. But turns out you have other hobbies. I don't know what you're talking about. And how Harry has made it through so much mortal peril with these piss-poor deception skills is a wonder to Draco. I think I would recognize what Draco's French muggle shampoo smells like after 7 years, Potter. Blaze deadpans, more of the fright draining from his face. He's missing, you know. Yeah, I asked the headmistress about it. She said not to worry about it. Harry says, not sounding sure of himself. His arms are tense, tightening around Draco almost uncomfortably. Blaze scoffs. Of course. Why would she care? Harry's jaw tightens, and he looks like he wants to say something, probably to defend McGonagall. Draco also wants to jump to the headmistress's defence. She may have been a bit biased as Gryffindor's head of house, but most heads of house are. She's more fair than some professors, and she is kindly keeping secret Draco's illegal animagus status. Not that Blaze knows that latter. I miss him, Harry blurts, surprising both Draco and Blaze. That why you stole his shampoo? Blaze is almost teasing, but there's still a hard edge. No doubt pissed that his room was broken into, despite the Golden Boy's sentimentality. If Draco hadn't benefited from the crime, he'd be livid too. And his conditioner, Harry adds. Blaze stares at Harry, eyes narrowed and assessing. Draco is also looking up at him, still in shock at Harry's claim of missing him. That has to be some weak lie to excuse his thievery. But Harry is a famously bad liar, and that had sounded genuine? I want him back, Blaze says after a long silence. Draco peeks at him, still mostly hiding. Harry nods wildly. It's another quiet moment before Blaze turns on his heels and leaves, appeased. Draco is almost upset that he doesn't demand Draco's things back. Suddenly, Draco is shuffled around and held up in front of Harry's face. His expression is serious. I really do miss Draco. I just want him to be okay. And Draco doesn't know what to do with that. He finds it hard to believe that anyone other than Pansy and Blaze will miss him. Even then, they would be better off without him and get over it as soon enough. Draco's own mother, after everything they'd been through during the war, had left him the second she was able. Had told him in a letter of all things that she had gone somewhere he couldn't follow, at least not for a few years. Harry's sincerity is uncomfortable. Draco squirms in his hands, not wanting to listen anymore. Harry gets the hint and lays Draco across his shoulders, dropping the topic. They meet Granger in the common room and discuss DADA homework for about an hour before they separate back to their rooms. Harry, still in his pyjamas from after a shower, settles directly into bed. Draco curls up next to Harry's head on the pillow. Good night, Harry whispers, green eyes squinting. Draco stretches his neck, licking his nose. The other man laughs. His smile stretches his cheeks. Draco curls back up and drifts off to sleep. As far as he's concerned, Harry fell asleep with the smile on his face, and if Draco were human, he would have worn a matching expression. I can't believe you made that thing a scarf, Weasley whines. You're just mad because he was cheering for me, weren't you? You didn't want mean old Ronald to win, did you? Harry sing-songs, pride from his rather impressive snitch catch dripping in his voice as he lifts Draco to his face. Draco is indeed wearing a small Gryffindor scarf, though let it be known that he'd made his distaste known. Unfortunately, Draco is weak, and a few crude words of how cute and handsome Draco looked wore down his resolve. So now he's wearing the garish red wool, an extra scarf Harry had that had been shrunken down, while he'd watched the 8th years play a friendly game of Quidditch. Of course he cheered for Harry. He'd hopped around in Luna's lap while she'd calmly commented on the game. Directly after the game, Harry had swept Draco into his arms, laughing and explaining that everyone on the pitch could hear Draco's excited noises thanks to Luna's sonorous charm. Weasley, who hadn't been sorted on the same team as Harry, grumbles over his loss. He is also currently throwing a devastating side-eye towards Harry and Draco. Harry is holding Draco under Draco's little arms, rubbing their noses together, asking him if he'd seen how flawlessly he'd caught the snitch. Draco is half revelling in the attention, and half contemplating taking his chances with leaping from Harry's hold to escape the overwhelming affection. Yes, Draco had wanted gentle touches and kind words, especially from the Golden Boy himself, but the reality of being surrounded by all of that might be giving Draco heart problems. You spoil him way too much, mate, Harry's friend says sulkily as they climb the stairs to the common room. The air around them is loud, with boisterous laughter and conversation, everyone reinvigorated after having played in the crisp winter air. Even Draco had been excited to leave the castle walls. It was a bummer that he couldn't fly. Draco had always found solace on the back of a broom, and the draw of facing off against Harry at Quidditch was hard to ignore. But he'd also found a separate enjoyment, with just watching and cheering for people he might actually consider friends. There was no pressure to be better than Harry. A pressure had always tainted the rush he got when playing with the other man in the past. Now all he had to do was be Harry's pet and cheer him on. He deserves to be spoiled, so I'll spoil him all I want. Harry pecks a kiss against the top of his head and makes brief eye contact. It's been about 2 weeks since Draco decided to stay by Harry's side as his pet, content to preen and soak up Harry's attention. And since then, the man often says things like this with a cryptic amount of sincerity. Draco doesn't understand it. Sometimes it seems like Harry knows he isn't just some animal, but that's impossible. Harry wouldn't kiss my head if he knew who I really was, Draco thinks, an odd mix of relief and sadness at the thought. So long as Harry is none the wiser, Draco can stay happily with him. If he ever found out, Draco isn't too keen on imagining the disgust and rejection. Luna, Granger, and Longbottom join Weasley and Harry, all of them settling on the floor in front of the fireplace in the common room. Someone else has been sent to the kitchens to snag food for everyone, since lunchtime is past. Draco takes the opportunity to run to Luna, in hopes of giving his hammering heart a break from Harry. Luna strokes her soft hands along his back, and everyone around them carries on a conversation. "Isn't it odd he doesn't let anyone but you and Luna touch him?" Longbottom pipes up, inching a finger closer to Draco's face. Draco sniffs it. Longbottom always has some new, interesting floral scent, but doesn't let him touch. Draco doesn't have to let anyone touch him. Although the sentiment is in direct contrast to his longing for physical affection, he's been hurt too much in the past 2 years to accept it readily from just anyone. He won't bite Longbottom or Granger. He's been cruel enough to them in the past, so Draco opts for making his displeasure at their creeping hands known in other ways. Luna is his cousin and treats him softly, so he allows her to interact with him. He also likes that she talks to him normally, engaging him in one-sided conversations in that dreamy voice of hers. "I bet Harry talks shit about us all to him at night. That's why he doesn't like anyone else," Dean Thomas calls from the couch. "Oh, definitely. What kind of horrible things does he tell you?" Longbottom asks with laughter. "Hermione made me study for a test today, bloody know-it-all," Weasley throws his voice, clearly trying to imitate Harry. Granger scoffs, but joins in with a smirk. "Ron is snoring again. I wonder how he even stays asleep with all that noise." Soon everyone is pretending to be Harry, jokingly gossiping about each other and themselves to Draco. "There goes Neville, telling the second years about how he killed Nagini again. How boring. Dean cheated at gobstones again. He'll cheat at anything. Luna's covered in rag spurts today. Ron and Hermione were snogging next to me during breakfast. Nev brought in some weird plant that threw up on my robe." Everyone is laughing and poking fun at each other. Draco, caught up in it all, decides to play along and bounce over to whoever was speaking at the time. He pretended to be shocked at each piece of gossip, sometimes snubbing the subject of each taunt. The others, having gotten used to Draco's incredible animal intelligence, as Granger had put it once, laugh at his antics. He likes being involved in the fun. "Come on, he looks soft. I want to feel." Weasley reaches his hand out. Despite the good mood, Draco still doesn't want the others to touch him. He hops around, arching his back and snapping at the redhead's fingers. Not biting, but close enough to show his intention. Weasley gasps, snatching his hand back. Harry tuts good-naturedly. "Oh, calm down now, sweetheart." Harry scoops Draco up into his arms easily, and Draco goes limp almost immediately, as his heart stutters at the endearment. The sweet little things Harry has taken to calling him leave Draco breathless, almost as much as the affectionate touches, maybe more. Draco burrows deeper into Harry's arms, trying to hide his embarrassment. Harry always has a smug look on his face when the pet names come out, as if he knows what it does to Draco. "Ron, if he doesn't want to be touched, don't try to force it," Granger scolds lightly, leaning further into his space. Weasley scoffs, but his hands are back in his lap. "All joking aside, I think he just likes Harry best. After all, Harry is very sweet to him." Luna is smiling at Draco when he pops his head out from the crook of Harry's elbow. He dukes once in agreement. "High praise indeed," says Harry. Seamus Finnegan chooses then to enter the common room, floating several plates of food, and, behind him, a Hufflepuff girl has her arms full of drinks. A rousing cheer greets the arrival of everyone's late lunch. Finnegan tells a riveting tale of dodging wandering professors and intimidating some poor fifth-year prefect to keep quiet. Draco is hand-fed chicken and sweet potato from Harry, earning a few more teasing comments about being spoiled. Draco preens, eating as daintily as he can manage to uphold the image. After lunch, the 8th years start breaking off into smaller groups. Draco finds himself curled up in a nest of Harry's robes on a table in the library, while Harry whiles away at an essay that is due tomorrow. Draco doesn't remember what it's about, but it's something to do with charms. He himself is very good at charms, but as a ferret is a horrible tutor. He tried to help Harry with a potion essay the other day, and the two learned that while Draco can help guide Harry in practical potion making, it takes far too much noise and jumping around to herd Harry to the correct books, pages, and conclusions. So for written work, Harry is on his own. At least until Granger comes by at the 11th hour. But the witch had sequestered herself in her room in an effort to finish some arithmancy work. Harry is mumbling to himself, and the soft scritching of his quill on parchment is making Draco tired. Surrounded by Harry's scent, he's already half asleep when the sound of a chair scraping the stone floor jolts him awake. Harry gives him an apologetic smile and holds out his hand for Draco to climb. "I need a different book," he whispers in explanation. Draco could just stay where he is and resume his nap, but he rarely wants to be away from the other. Settling in a spot on Harry's shoulder, Harry takes him into some aisle towards the back of the library. The row they're in is between two windows that are spaced fairly far apart, blanketing the area in soft shadows. It was in an aisle like this where Theo and Draco had shared a few experimental kisses in 4th year. Theo had learned he didn't like kissing boys, and Draco had learned that he very much liked kissing boys. That day had been followed by almost a week of crisis, as Draco's obsession with Harry had been put into agonizing clarity. He'd compensated by being even more of a prick to the Golden Trio. Draco's reverie is broken when he hears soft, strained breathing sounds. He stiffens and wonders how he can warn Harry that this part of the library might currently be in use when the sounds get clearer and more familiar. "Is someone there?" Harry calls out, apparently having heard the sound of muffled crying by now. The sound cuts off in a choked gasp, leading into a long silence. The person reveals themselves, standing up from behind a cart of books that needed to be reshelved properly. "Parkinson?" Draco feels a sudden burst of energy, looking around quickly, searching for the reason his best friend is crying. She isn't usually a target for the anti-Slytherin sentiment that was held by some of the younger students, but her robes were still green, and a suggestion of turning Harry into Voldemort certainly doesn't help in the eyes of those that recognize her. But the difference between her and Draco is that she fights back. Her family isn't under any more scrutiny than anyone else, so when she hexes back, the extent of her punishment is equal to whoever had started the fight. "Why did it have to be you?" Pansy groans, dragging a hand down her face. Draco makes a noise, a warning about wrinkles on the tip of his tongue. Her eyes snap to Draco and her face hardens. "You and that stupid rat of yours. You've been living it up, haven't you? Not a care in the world." Her uniform is wrinkled, which worries Draco almost more than the tears that are still streaming down her cheeks, collecting on her chin and dropping onto the stone floor. If anyone cared about their appearance more than himself, it was Pansy. What happened? He thought with a guilty conscience. He hadn't paid much attention to his friends since that run-in with Blaze outside Harry's room. "Parkinson, are you okay?" Harry foolishly takes a step towards Pansy. Oh, how he wishes he could speak, so he could tell Harry not to ask such a stupid question when Pansy is already in such a state. In response, Pansy brandishes her wand, the wood slipping from the arm holster hidden under her robe sleeve and into her palm. "Of course I'm not fine," she's whispering, harsh and shrill, but the sound carries nonetheless. "My best friend is missing and no one gives a damn. Not the headmistress, not the student body, and not even the great saviour himself. He got himself a pet, so why bother with a Death Eater? I'm honestly surprised you all haven't thrown a party, but I guess even that would mean you cared somewhat." Draco looks into her wild eyes. Something in his stomach hardens into stone. He feels sick. "Parkinson, Pansy, no, Parkinson." Harry backtracks quickly when Pansy lifts her wand to his face at the use of her first name. "I care that Draco is missing. I noticed. I miss him too." "Oh, it's Draco now. Since when did that happen? Who gave you the right?" "No one, I guess. But that doesn't matter. I care about Draco. Since when? Pansy sneers, laughing meanly. Harry tenses under Draco, and the familiar crackle of the Golden Boy's magic sparks around them. Since when? Harry grinds out. I'm probably the only one that kept his ass out of Azkaban. Or did you forget the fact that I spoke at that excuse for a trial? Even here, I tried to keep people from hexing him and treating him like shit. But people rarely actually listen to me, despite the fact that they've all decided I'm some celebrity. It isn't my fault Draco kept avoiding me when I wanted to talk. I wanted to make amends, but he ran away whenever he so much as saw me walk in his direction. Harry is practically shaking by the end of his rant, and so is Draco, but for different reasons, he suspects. So this is all Draco's fault? Pansy raises her voice, hands shaking in rage. No, it's no one's fault. It's everyone's fault. Blame whoever you want, but don't act like I was the only one with any responsibility. I already killed Voldemort. I just wish everyone would stop wanting for me to fix every other problem. Pansy opens her mouth to say more, but Harry steamrolls on. What about you and Zabini? I don't see you doing anything to find Draco. How are you helping? If he's gone, how much blame are you going to place on yourself? Harry's shoulders are rising and falling irregularly as Harry pants and shakes. Sharp bursts of barely restrained magic cause Harry's hair and Draco's fur alike to stand on end. Draco wants to run away. Pansy isn't supposed to be crying over him. She's supposed to get over him, forget about all the trouble he's caused, and breathe a sigh of relief that she is free from his friendship. And how much anger did Harry have surrounding Draco? Is this outburst towards him or because of him? Draco has so many questions, and he doesn't know if he actually wants any of them answered. He wants to be about 10 minutes in the past when things were simple. To his knowledge, his friends were healing, and Harry didn't talk about Draco while shaking with anger and a mix of emotions Draco can't begin to pass through. Pansy and Harry stand paces from each other, breathing heavily in the silence. There are still tears falling from Pansy's eyes that she makes no move to wipe away. They stare at each other, and Draco looks from one to the other, stock still, as if moving will alert them to his presence. Draco doesn't know why, but he feels that if they were to focus their attention on him, he might break apart. Pansy breaks the tense silence first, with another choked-off sob. You don't think I know that? Her voice is soft. That Blaze and I couldn't help him. We didn't know how, and he wouldn't tell us. I could tell he wanted something. He was always so close to saying what, but that idiot would rather run away than ask for what he actually needs. Do you want to hear me say that I know I failed Draco? Because I already know that. And now no one knows where he is. McGonagall just tells me it's being handled. If you could say something to Draco right now, what would it be? Harry asks the question, and it shocks both Slytherins. Pansy gets a mean look in her eyes for a second before it washes away. Her shoulders, which were pulled back and stiff, fall forward as if the string that held her up had been cut. Pansy isn't tall, but she never looks so small and defeated. I tell him that I just want to be his best friend again, she whispers, and Draco can't take this. It's a lose-lose. How can Draco be happy as Harry's pet when he's got the image of Pansy tearfully calling out for him burned in his mind? But how can he go back to her, back to Blaze and his mother, when all he feels at their side is guilt? Draco doesn't even know how to change back. He's scared to try again. Whether he's scared of success or failure, his mind is too much of a mess to decide just yet. So Draco does what he always done best. Run away. Pansy said it best, after all. Draco scrambles down from his perch on Harry's shoulder. He slips and falls a foot or two to the floor, but he doesn't let that slow him down. He takes off running, taking shortcuts whenever he can. He vaguely hears Harry call out behind him. He barely dodges a spell, probably harmless and only meant to bring him back to Harry, but muscle memory kicks in. He's stressed, and someone much bigger than him is casting spells at his tiny body. Draco runs. Hi, happy Pride Month. Sorry this took so long. I will try and record the next chapters today or tomorrow, and then I can edit them sometime soon. Thank you for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!